to Oklahoma Gardening. Well, it's the dead of winter, so we want to take you to some place that's tropical with warm temperatures and beautiful green plants. We're in Oklahoma City in the Crystal Bridge with Jesse Rohde, the horticulturist of this place. Jesse, tell us about the Crystal Bridge. How did it get started?
Well, basically, this was an idea started around a campfire about 23 years ago, and some philanthropists here in the city were out around Lake Eufaula, I believe, talking, said, wouldn't it be nice if? What we see here after all this time is the results of that dream and that little talk around the campfire. The structure was started way back in the late 70s and early 80s, and we just opened up a little less than a year ago, last March. And the results you see around you are what we have as a result of that. This place was built mostly from philanthropists and private donations and such like that. It is now handled by the city of Oklahoma City and part of their Parks and Recreation Department.
And it's part of the Myriad Gardens complex,
yes,
right?
Right now we've pretty well finished the inside of the gardens, the tropical gardens, which we'll be talking about today, and but there also encompasses the outside gardens as well, which are presently under construction, and we're starting the landscaping and the plaza work and the fountains and such like that. So we've got a long way to go on the outdoors, but the indoors is almost finished.
But this is a place that people can come visit now. It's open
It's
full-time?
open now, and the only day we're closed is Christmas, so yes.
Okay.
It is open and able to enjoy right now.
Well, basically, it's a greenhouse, but it's a super-duper one at that. What is the basic concept here? I know you have a lot of green plants, but it looks like there are different zones established.
That's true. It is a greenhouse, and all greenhouses, we're talking about little hobby greenhouses or even huge conservatories like this, have microclimates, or as you say, zones. So what we have in here, instead of trying to fight that, most greenhouses try to moderate those and make them all the same climate. We actually enhance them. We're standing here in the dry side right now, and everything's drying out, looking a little yellow and dropping leaves, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We also have a humid side, or what most folks consider the real tropics, with the ferns and the orchids and the palm trees and such like that over yonder. And in between these two zones, we have a transition zone, or what's sometimes called the Mediterranean zone. And in this, we have plants that are going to be found in such places as the Mediterranean zone, like in France and Spain, such like that. Also, Southern California is representative of this climate, and some parts of Australia as well.
And where did all these plants come from? Did you have to go collect them?
Actually, most of the plants came from southern Florida and southern California. However, in their original, where they're originally from is all over the world. We have plants here from virtually every continent except Antarctica.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, now, the zone that we're in right now, the microclimate, I noticed it's up in a high part of the greenhouse.
Right.
There must be quite a temperature differential between here and the very bottom. How many feet up are we right now?
We're about 40 feet above the floor of the conservatory, and there is quite a temperature difference, and as we walk through, you'll be able to feel it. In fact, there's quite a temperature difference from this side of the Crystal Bridge on the dry side than on the moist, humid side, and as we come across the skywalk, you actually feel the temperature on your skin change.
So it gets cooler on this side because it's less humid?
Actually, no. It actually,
Yeah.
yes. This is a north-facing slope, and so actually it gets a little warmer over here. It feels a little cool over there because of the higher humidity.
Okay, so not only are you dealing with the internal influences, but the sun
Exactly.
going south and the outside
Yes.
influences how you designed the greenhouse.
Exactly, right.
Okay.
We had to put plants over here that could take this hot sun coming in and striking them directly. On the south mountain, which faces north, it's a lot more shady, so we have ferns and things like that over there that need a little bit more of a break from our harsh Oklahoma sun.
Well, now tell me about these mountains that we have constructed here in the Crystal Bridge. Is this real rock?
No, that's a story in themselves. This is actually fake rock, if you will, and we had a firm in Southern California that specializes in this kind of construction work. And what they do is they go out to a rock face or a cliff face or mountain stuff like that and spray a rubber compound on the rock face. They then let it harden and peel it off. Take it back to their plant, and they pour concrete reinforced with fiberglass in there. They use these as molds then. They then ship this rock here in sections, the fiberglass reinforced concrete, and then assemble them on the site. And that's what we have here.
Does it look like real rock?
It does, and they go to quite extended pains to make sure it does that. Right below us is some storage facilities, and on the other mountain, on the moist mountain, we have our classrooms and offices.
Well, now how do you cool this greenhouse in the summertime?
We use big evaporative coolers. They're about the size of your kitchen. We have 20 of them. They're placed laterally along each side of the Crystal Bridge. Basically, we call it the Crystal Bridge because it definitely is a bridge. It's suspended over water, and there's big floor louvers that open up and pull in this moist air off the lake. After that, it runs through our evaporative cooler where it's moistened even more and then shot up along the sides here.
Well, it's a really innovative greenhouse design. Are there any other greenhouses like this in the world?
Basically, the only one like this is the Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen, and it's the closest one that can come to this as far as architectural design and that kind of thing.
We were reminiscing before we started taping today that years ago, the original design for Myriad Gardens was publicized as being patterned after those Tivoli Gardens in Copenhagen.
Exactly.
So it's a dream come true. It's something you really should come see. Well, Jesse, as a horticulturist, how do you maintain all these plants? Gosh, you've got people walking through and you know, chances of insect infestation and all. What do you do to take care of them?
It's a challenge here, and because of the public and also because the plants are static. In most greenhouses, the plants come in and out fairly regularly, and they have a high crop turnover and that kind of thing. Here we have an awful lot of permanent plantings, and so you're right, we do have a little bit different situation here from most greenhouses. We have horticulturists that starts here at 7 o'clock in the morning, and she basically takes care of the watering and the pruning and that kind of thing. We try to get most of the heavy work done before we open at 10 o'clock. We do have to work around the public, however, so you'll see us busy in here snipping leaves and picking up things and such like that throughout the day. People are amazed to find out we actually have to hand water in here, everything. And there is no automatic sprinkler system in here. And the reason for that is we have such a diversity of species that we may have some species, for instance, this ponytail palm right here, this requires an awful lot of water, right next to these crown of thorns and other euphorbias that require a lot less water. So we have to hand water in here, just everything. And it's basically just get the hose out and stand on the end of the hose.
Do your soil mixes vary from one microclimate to another to accommodate the plants?
A little bit, yes. On the other side, we have an awful lot of peat moss and high organic matter in our soil over there for the tropicals. On this side, it's basically the same mix, but we had to cut it with a baked clay. It's almost like kitty litter, only it's been baked a whole lot more, keep it hard and keep it from absorbing water. And that's because most of the dry plants grow in gravelly or sandy kind of soil and have excellent drainage. So we had to add some of that to it and make it about 50% of that to increase the drainage for our dry plants here, prevent rot and that kind of thing.
Well, and then you have to keep the plants fertilized, what, foliarly, or just depends on the species, I guess?
Well, not really. A little bit, yes. We do fertilize actually three ways. We lay down some granular fertilizer about once every 2 or 3 months. We come through with liquid feed about once a month, and then also about once a month we spray micronutrients on the leaves, or foliar feed, with a sprayer. So we feed 3 different ways.
How do you manage the insects here?
Okay, that's a whole, we're getting to what's called IPM, or Integrated Pest Management, here in the greenhouse. Because of the public that is in here on a daily basis, we're trying to get away from the harmful chemicals and that kind of thing that most greenhouses use. We have introduced an awful lot of biological controls, that is the good bugs or the beneficial bugs, and we also use mechanical and other methods to control the bugs. As people walk through the Crystal Bridge, they will find bugs around here, but we have to keep some bugs in here because if we introduce beneficials, don't have the bugs for them to eat on, they'll soon die out. And
so you're trying to maintain an ecological balance.
Exactly, an equilibrium.
Well, in a few minutes, we're going to visit with Julia Pruitt, our IPM agent here in Oklahoma City. She's with OSU Extension, and she's going to go into more detail on that. But for now, Jesse, there are a lot of plants here that I recognize and some that I've never seen at all. Is there a map when people come visit to show what is where and something they can learn from?
There's a literature map, so to speak, or a pamphlet that we pass out, and some of the plants are numbered. It's a self-guiding tour brochure, and you pick this up and you follow that, and as you walk around, it'll explain to you about some of the plants we wish to emphasize. We do have some labels out, and we'll be getting some more in for the plants that are not included in the brochure.
I see. Are there any economic crops here, spices and things like that?
There's a few. One of the more popular ones we have here is a coconut palm. Everybody thinks all palm trees put off coconuts, and that's not true. But we do have a coconut palm. We're very proud. It's starting to have little coconuts on about this size right now, so we're proud parents. We also have an allspice bush down yonder. When you take the leaves and crush them, it's, you get the spicy fragrance. We have another plant here that draws an awful lot of interest, and it's the miracle berry. And it's called this because if you eat 2 or 3 of the fruit, almost anything you eat after that has a sweet taste to it. And it's an excellent sweetener. It's actually more potent than sugar or honey. And I think there's only a few things that it doesn't affect. I think vodka is one of them or something else. And but anyway, most anything else you eat after that has a very sweet taste to it. There have been some attempts to put these on plantations and market them, and so far the attempts have not been successful for various reasons. And we're hoping ours will fruit real soon because we want to try experiment ourselves on this.
Sure, that'd be interesting. Where's that plant from?
It's from southwestern Africa. Southwestern Africa. It shows great promise also for the diabetics of the world.
Oh, I can see why. There's no sugar in it then,
Exactly.
but it makes things taste sweet. That's fascinating. Well, Jesse, this is an amazing place. Can you tell people again where it is and when you're open?
Sure. We're downtown Oklahoma City at Robinson and Reno, and we are open 7 days a week, 364 days a year. The only day we're not open is Christmas Day. And we're open from 10 till 5 in the winter and 10 till 7 in the summertime. And it's a $1 admission charge, and about half that if you're a senior or a kid.
Okay. Is there, are there tours available?
There are
for
tours
groups?
available. We have quite a few classes that come down here and garden clubs and such like that. And we do take on guided tours and such like that. As well, if you do come down and visit individually, we're always available to answer questions and that kind of thing.
Great. So contact the Myriad Gardens in the phone book if they need
Sure.
to inquire about it. Right. Jesse, thanks for telling us about it. Now let's visit with Julia about how they manage some of the pests here in this greenhouse. Well, I've strolled down to the opposite end of the Crystal Bridge, and I'm here with Julia Pruitt. Julia is Oklahoma County's IPM agent for OSU Extension. Julia, you want to tell us about IPM?
Well, IPM stands for Integrated Pest Management, which is actually just a means of managing pest populations. Traditionally in agriculture, it's used for crops where they can reduce their overall pesticide usage by monitoring pest levels and using timing of spraying to reduce all their pesticide usage. In an environment closed like a public garden, conservatory, or greenhouse in some cases, you can adapt IPM techniques to reduce the use of pesticides, which is great when you have so many people going through here, you don't have as much exposure. And a lot of times too, you get almost better control than you do if you're doing a lot of pesticide spraying.
Because it's a balanced environment.
Right, and a lot of times, a lot of the common greenhouse pests we have show resistance to pesticides. So what integrated pest management consists of is the use of all the different means of pest control measures that you can use, and that would be cultural, environmental, adapting your environment in a situation like this, the use of sanitation, of course, biological pest control, and we'll talk about that in just a second, and also mechanical pest controls like destroying insects with traps or
removing their egg cases.
Them. Exactly.
Okay.
Biological pest control and the use of pesticides in some cases. Biological pest control consists of using parasites, pathogens, or predators. And I know that sounds kind of confusing, but when you think of a predator, the first one, of course, you think of is ladybugs, which are used real extensively in this garden to feed on aphids and other small insects. The larvae and the adult of the ladybug both feed on small insects. And so they're released on a fairly regular basis to help maintain those insect populations at a low level.
I see. Well, you have to replenish the supply of ladybugs in
right,
here. They fly out the vents and things?
Well, there's not a real bad problem with losing them that way, but as soon as they eat all their food source, then their populations start to diminish.
Okay.
And so eventually, and they say with most IPM programs in conservatories or greenhouses, it takes about a year to balance things out to where your predators are eating enough and yet leaving enough to maintain their population.
So their food supply is not
right. So they, like you said, they kind of balance out ecologically. An example, another biological control of a pathogen is actually a pathogen being a disease. Is Bacillus thuringiensis, or what we call dipel.
That's everybody's familiar with that now.
Uses
Use it in the garden a lot.
Right, it's great stuff. It kills all Lepidoptera larvae, or the worm stage of Lepidoptera larvae. So that would be an example of the use of a pathogen. So it's not as complicated as it sounds.
Sure. Well, it looks like it's working because it's just beautiful, and there is no chemical residue here. Might mention that if you folks are interested in getting some of these biological controls, the predators or the parasites, we have a list of sources of those available. You can write to us here at Oklahoma Gardening or contact the Myriad Gardens. They can tell you where to get some of these beneficial insects. Well, Julia, thanks for explaining it to us. That's a big help. Hope you all will come visit the Myriad Gardens. And now let's go join Jim back in our temperate zone. He has some fruit to prune.